Hey, we're live, everybody. Waiting for more people. Can't see who's come in. We'll get started in a second. I'm going to pull up my screen. So, first of all, I want to thank Love Knows No Words for becoming a new member. She's awesome, has been actually with me for a long time, so thank you. That's wonderful. I appreciate you. Okay, so we do have some people, so I will get started. So there is something about Elizabeth Siders that I've been thinking about for a while now. How young she was when pregnancy and motherhood became a part of her life, how many pregnancies followed, and how many years of her life appear to have revolved around being pregnant, having babies, and raising them. And I started wondering, what does that actually do to a person? Physically, certainly, of course, but also developmentally, psychologically, and socially. Before we go any further, though, I need to make something very clear. I don't know what happened to Elizabeth Siders. None of us do, really. There is an enormous amount about this case that none of us knows. We don't know everything law enforcement knows, and we don't know everything her attorney knows, and we certainly don't know everything that happened inside this family over all those years. So I've actually gone back and forth about doing this live because there's a point where speculation turns into simply making up a story about somebody. And I don't want to do that at all. So tonight, we're going to separate three things: what we know, what research tells us generally, and what I'm wondering about. Whenever we move from fact into speculation, I'm going to tell you that, because those things are not interchangeable. And for the research and studies I referenced tonight, I put the source links in the description below so you can look at them for yourself. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Stina, and this is Motive and Method. I have, as way of background, to tell you a little bit about my background, I have a bachelor's degree in communication and more than 25 years of professional experience working with communication, language, and persuasion. I'm not an attorney, a doctor, or a psychologist, and my opinions here are based on my education and professional experience, my research, the publicly available information in this case, and occasionally my own life experience when I clearly identify it as such. This is, as I said, commentary and analysis. And of course, everyone charged in this case is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in a court of law. If this is the first time you've heard about this case, I'm going to give you the very abbreviated version because the allegations involving the children are not what I want to focus on tonight. And the reason why is because I just do not want to get into that because of YouTube standards and everything like that. And I'm actually discussing something very different tonight. I have a different focus on this tonight. So in June, authorities in Benton County, Ohio, went to a residence connected to the Siders family. 16 children were located there, and 4 adults were ultimately charged with multiple counts of child endangering. Elizabeth Siders, her husband, Gary Siders Jr., and Gary's parents, Gary Siders Sr. and Christina Siders. There have been extremely disturbing allegations about conditions inside that home. So I'm deliberately not going to describe them tonight. That information has been extensively reported elsewhere, and we don't need to go through it to have the conversation I want to have tonight. There is also information surrounding the investigation that has not been made public. Quite a lot, actually, of information. So we are dealing with an incomplete picture. And I think remembering that is incredibly important. There has also been an important development involving Elizabeth herself. Her attorney requested that she undergo an evaluation to determine whether she is competent to stand trial and, alternatively, whether she may have met the legal standard for insanity at the time of the alleged offenses. And what caught my attention was why her attorney says he requested it. He says he has met with Elizabeth numerous times and for extended periods. During those meetings, he has personally observed her demeanor, conduct, and comprehension. And those interactions led him to believe that Elizabeth may be experiencing significant mental health issues that would interfere with her ability to assist in her own defense. He also raised the possibility that whatever is going on with Elizabeth may have affected her ability to understand the wrongfulness or consequences of her alleged conduct at the time. But there's another sentence in that filing. My throat's dry, excuse me. But there's another sentence in that filing I think we need to remember throughout this discussion. Her own attorney says he does not yet have all the facts, evidence, or circumstances of this case because they have not been indicted yet. There has not been a grand jury convened yet because it takes a while in that small county. So her attorney doesn't have all the information yet. And if he doesn't have all the information yet, we certainly don't. So tonight isn't about deciding who Elizabeth Siders is. It's about asking whether there are parts of her life that deserve a closer look. And before we do that, if you're new here and this is a kind of deeper conversation you enjoy, please consider subscribing to Motive and Method. We have a wonderful community here of very supportive and kind individuals. And hit the like button if you're enjoying the discussion. It really does help YouTube know that people want to see more content like this. Memberships and merch are also available. And for those of you, it's been one of those days, guys. And for those of you who prefer closed captions or subtitles, I think it's actually going to work live now. Just click the CC symbol at the bottom right of your screen. And one other thing before we get into all of this, all perspectives are welcome here, including disagreement with me or with other people in the chat. Disagreement can make these conversations better as long as it stays respectful. No insults, no personal attacks, and no going after other commenters. Thankfully, that really hasn't been a problem in this community. And as you hear me say all the time, two things can be true at the same time. Okay, so let's look closer now. One of the things that struck me when I started looking into Elizabeth's background was just how young she was when pregnancy and motherhood entered her life. And I want to be careful here because there are several versions of Elizabeth's early history circulating online, and not all of them have been independently confirmed by any official document or anything. Here is what we can document. Court records show that Elizabeth married Gary Siders Jr. on March 31st, 2008 in West Virginia. She was 15 years old. Gary was 18. And according to the criminal complaints in this case, the first of the 16 children was born only about 2 months after that marriage. So, regardless of the unanswered questions surrounding exactly when that pregnancy began, we know Elizabeth was already pregnant when she married at 15, and that she became a mother when she was still a teenager. There have also been accounts circulating that Elizabeth's first became, it's a tongue twister. There have also been accounts circulating that Elizabeth first became pregnant even younger, possibly at 13, and that her relationship with Gary began sometime around that period. I have not found an official record establishing that timeline, so I am not presenting it as fact. And I think that distinction matters. There are enough extraordinary facts in this case without turning an unverified account into a confirmed one. What the records do show is that pregnancy did not stop with that first child. And ABC6 Investigates reviewed birth records showing that Elizabeth had a baby nearly every year beginning in 2008. They reviewed 15 birth certificates covering the 16 children involved in this case. There have also been reports that Elizabeth experienced additional pregnancies beyond those 16 children. One part of that history is documented, at least one. In 2022, Elizabeth gave birth prematurely to conjoined twin girls. Records reportedly show they were born at approximately 24 weeks and died within hours of birth from natural causes. So, when we talk about Elizabeth's pregnancy history, we are not simply talking about a woman who eventually had a very large family. We are talking about someone whose reproductive history appears to have begun during adolescence and continued with remarkable frequency for much of the next 18 years. This is where I want to tell you something from my own life. My mother was born and raised in West Virginia. She married at 15, moved to Ohio with her new husband, and had my oldest brother very young. That marriage ended, and later she married my dad and went on to have 6 more living children. She also had 1 stillborn child and several miscarriages. So, when I look at Elizabeth's history of pregnancy beginning in adolescence and continuing over many years, there's a part of this that hits closer to home for me than I initially realized. That does not mean my mother's experience was Elizabeth's experience. It just means I have some personal frame of reference for how pregnancy, loss, and a very large family can shape a household. And that is where I started researching. And that is where I started researching. Because if pregnancy begins that young, does age itself matter medically? The World Health Organization defines adolescence as ages 10 through 19. And adolescence pregnancy is an actual field of medical research. The World Health Organization, or also called WHO, reports higher risks for several pregnancy complications among adolescent mothers, compared with women ages 20 through 24. But something else fascinated me even more. Researchers have studied pregnant adolescents who were still physically growing themselves. And just think about that for a second. We normally picture pregnancy as a developing baby being supported by a fully developed adult body. But with a sufficiently young adolescent, the mother's body can still have developmental demands of its own. Researchers have actually measured continued physical growth during adolescent pregnancy and studied the potential competition for nutritional resources between the still growing adolescent and the pregnancy. That was something I had never really thought about. Now, does that mean it happened to Elizabeth? No. We don't have her medical records and we don't know her nutritional status, whether she was still physically growing or what complications she did or did not experience. I cannot take a study about adolescent pregnancy and retroactively diagnose Elizabeth with anything, of course. But what I can say is this. Pregnancy beginning during adolescence is not medically insignificant. And that made me want to keep looking. Because Elizabeth's history isn't simply about becoming pregnant young. The records we just looked at indicate that she was having babies with extraordinary frequency, nearly every year, beginning in adolescence and continuing over many years. And that led me to another area of research, pregnancy spacing. Major medical organizations specifically address the amount of time between pregnancies because the body needs time to recover. Pregnancy has nutritional and physiological demands. Then comes postpartum recovery, possibly breastfeeding, and imagine beginning another pregnancy somewhere inside that recovery period, then doing it again and again. We do not know the exact conception dates or spacing of every one of Elizabeth's pregnancies, and I cannot tell you what physical effect any particular pregnancy had on her individually. But when the documented birth history shows babies arriving at roughly yearly intervals over a prolonged period, it is reasonable to ask what repeated pregnancy, with potentially limited recovery time in between, can do to the body, especially when that reproductive history began while she was still an adolescent. And this is a part I almost overlooked. Because pregnancy ends, motherhood doesn't. Every time another baby arrives, there is now another human being who needs care. And the baby before that still needs care. And the toddler still needs care. And every other child already in the household needs care. This is where I again want to tell you something from my own life. I grew up as one of 7 children. And I want to emphasize that what I'm about to say is my experience. It is not evidence about Elizabeth or the Siders family in any way. But in my family, the older children helped take care of the younger children. That was simply part of how our household worked. And I can tell you from being one of 7 that there wasn't the same amount of individual parental attention available that there would have been in a family with 1 or 2 children. That was 7. So when I look at a family with more than twice that many children, I have questions. How does day-to-day parenting work? Who is caring for the younger children? And how is all of that responsibility divided? And there is actually, which surprised me, a psychological term, parentification, for situations in which children take on caregiving or adult responsibilities that aren't appropriate for their developmental stage. I'm not saying that happened in the Siders family. We would need evidence of that, of course. But it does make the larger question relevant. How was caregiving distributed in this household? I don't know. And I don't want my childhood to become evidence about somebody else's. My experience simply makes me recognize the sheer magnitude of what we're talking about. Because Elizabeth wasn't only experiencing pregnancy after pregnancy. If the publicly reported history is accurate, she was experiencing those pregnancies while already mothering an increasingly enormous family. Those are 2 different burdens. I found something else in the research that changed the way I thought about this as well. A massive 2024 study looked at approximately 2.2 million females in Ontario and found an association between adolescent pregnancy and increased premature mortality later in life, with a stronger association among those who experience multiple adolescent pregnancies. Now, that does not mean teen pregnancy causes women to die young. The study did not establish that, but it did find an association. And adolescent pregnancy can occur alongside many other circumstances: poverty, family instability, violence, or abuse, educational disruption, limited access to healthcare, mental health vulnerability, and social isolation. So perhaps sometimes the pregnancy itself isn't the entire story. Maybe adolescent pregnancy can also be a signal telling us to look at what else was happening in that adolescent's life. And that is where my questions about Elizabeth become much bigger. Coercive control has come up in discussions surrounding this case. And this is a subject I have some personal understanding of as well. I grew up around coercive control, steeped in coercive control, with the children particularly, but other forms as well. So I know from experience that from outside a controlling environment, choices can look very different than they feel from inside one. But my experience is not Elizabeth's experience. I don't know whether Gary controlled or isolated Elizabeth. And I don't know whether these pregnancies were wanted or whether reproductive coercion played any role. And yes, there is also a thing, reproductive coercion is a thing. I didn't know that until I went looking either. We simply don't have that evidence. So I'm not going to tell you coercive control explains Elizabeth Siders, but I also don't accept the simplistic argument. Well, she could have just left. Human behavior does not work like that. And even if you have lived in, somebody commented recently, they left an abusive situation after many years to save her children, and bravo, and that's brave. But even if you've had an abusive household yourself, you can't really say that it would have been different if you were in this exact person's shoes at the time, Elizabeth's shoes. Anyone who has studied coercive control understands that leaving is not always psychologically as simple as walking through a door. Whether any of that applies to Elizabeth remains to be seen. And this brings me to the question underneath almost everything we've talked about tonight. Do we have to choose between seeing Elizabeth as a victim and seeing her as someone who may be responsible for harming others? I don't think we do. Someone can have been victimized and later victimize someone else. Understanding what happened to a person is not the same thing as excusing what that person later did. And compassion is not an acquittal. One question I keep coming back to is, what did Elizabeth herself believe was normal? If pregnancy and motherhood began for her during adolescence, and she then spent much of the next 18 years inside the same family structure, what did the world look like from inside that life? I don't know, but her attorney has now spent significant time with her and has raised concerns about her demeanor, conduct, and comprehension serious enough to request a professional evaluation. Now, this does not tell us what the evaluation will find, but it does make the question worth asking, I think. If the evidence ultimately shows that Elizabeth understood what was happening, knowingly participated, and had meaningful alternatives available to her, then we follow that evidence. If the evidence shows serious mental illness, coercion, developmental vulnerability, distorted understanding, or something else entirely, we follow that evidence too. I don't need Elizabeth to fit neatly into one category. Nothing is cut and dried. Nothing is black and white. There are always shades of gray. I need the evidence to tell us who she was. So, where does all of this leave me and us, maybe? But me, since I've been looking into this, I have more questions than answers. What effect, if any, did becoming pregnant and becoming a mother so young have on Elizabeth? What did years of repeated pregnancies mean for her physically and psychologically? What did she believe was normal inside that household? And what has her attorney seen that we haven't? I don't know. And neither does anybody sitting in the YouTube comment section. None of us do. Maybe the forensic evaluation will give us some answers. Maybe future court filings will give us others. But for now, I'm not comfortable reducing Elizabeth to a single word. Victim, perpetrator. Maybe she was one. Maybe she was both. Two things can be true at the same time. And until we know more, I think we keep looking closer. So I want to hear what you guys think. And remember, disagreement is welcome here. Personal attacks aren't. What do you think we actually need to know before we can begin to understand who Elizabeth Siders was inside that family? And do you think it's possible to examine what may have happened to Elizabeth without excusing what Elizabeth herself may ultimately be held responsible for? Please let me know in the comments. And I'm not showing any comments, and so I'm wondering if something went wrong and the comments are off. Let me check this real fast. Do we have comments on? Sorry, guys, hold on a second. Well, I don't think so. For some reason, this is unusual. It doesn't look like I have any comments coming into the chat. I'm almost thinking that I did something wrong. Oh my goodness, here you guys are. Hold on. Oh, J Bowman. I'm so sorry, you guys. I had a different screen up. I'm thinking, I think I'm talking to myself, but I see like 20, there's 20 people. I'm so sorry. Thank you for becoming a member, Love Knows No Words. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. And Jay Bowman for your support. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Your wife is okay then, Jay Bowman, although it's pretty hot, you said. I'm just reading the comments here. Hello, Brandy Snaps. How are you today? Oh, Lisbeth, 1975. She says, hi and good evening from Denmark. Oh my gosh, how is the weather in Denmark, Elizabeth? And welcome to our community too. Let's see. Beth of the Salesman says, hi everyone. Hi Beth, how are you today? It's good. Welcome back, because I know you've been in our chats before. Welcome. Love Knows No Words. Yeah, she says, I'm curious if the standard for insanity is different than the standard in Massachusetts, Clancy case. I heard that the Commonwealth standard was unique. Yeah, and I'm in Ohio, but I really don't know what the standard for insanity is. I didn't really look into that, but that's a great question. I think I will. And whatever it's being ruled, because they haven't even been indicted yet, but they are being, all four have the requests and for competency hearings, which have all been granted from what I understand. So we'll see. Beth of a Salesman says, I'm neither supportive nor kind, LOL. What do you mean? Do you mean about Elizabeth, or do you mean about in general, Beth? Oh my goodness. Let's see, I'm just reading here. Yeah, Elizabeth says, I feel so sorry for the young mother who wants to be with her child at 14 and married at 15. Yeah, and I was listening the other night to Moms for Justice, and she did, I think she said, I think that the title was something like Elizabeth Sider's victim or villain, something like that. I can't remember what it was. And, and she, brought up some really good points about that. Like, we don't really know. We don't know much about it. So, and yes, Beth of a Salesman, she did. Actually, her parents signed for her to get married. Her mother did, at least, in West Virginia. I don't know. I can't remember if her family lives in West Virginia or Ohio. I think they live in Ohio, but they had to go, Elizabeth, and had to go to West Virginia to get married at 15 at the time. So, yeah, I agree. Love Knows No Words. I'm curious about her early childhood as well. And if she did get pregnant at 13, you kind of have to wonder. We don't know. Was that Gary's? Was it somebody else's? What happened to the baby? I've heard different things. That is that first child? Is that one she had at 13? Because I've heard that it was a live birth, and what happened to it. So that is kind of like, kind of things that I'd love to find out. Oh yeah, okay. Elizabeth says in Denmark, you have to be 18 years old to be married. And it's interesting. I heard somebody recently say, until recently, the laws in Ohio there wasn't like, I don't know how true this is, but there wasn't a minimum age that you could get married at as long as you had your parents' permission. But that can't be true back then because they had to go to West Virginia to get married. So I don't know. But it's kind of strange to know if that's true, that Ohio didn't have like a minimum age that you could legally get married. I guess any age if your parents consented. Well, that's horrible. So just looking at the comments here. Yeah, Love Knows No Words says, looks like it's the opposite in Ohio. The burden is on the defense to prove the insanity. So on the Clancy case. So Beth of the Salesman asks, isn't the burden typically on the prosecution? Yes, Beth, I don't know the law there, but I'm thinking in this particular case, I read that when insanity is raised as a defense, then it becomes a burden on the prosecutor in Massachusetts, which is kind of strange because they have a different law there than just in general. So. Yes, Love Knows No Words. Yeah, absolutely. She says the brain doesn't even finish developing until the 20, isn't it like 25 or something like that? So you're having this 15-year-old, 13-year-old, 15, 13, maybe having a first baby and then continuing having babies for almost every year, from what I understand. And her brain wasn't even fully developed until 25. Great point, Beth. Beth says, I was barely ready for a baby at 28. I don't know if anybody's ever ready for a baby at any age, really. It's hard. It's a lot of work. So. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Love. Love Knows No Words. She says the prefrontal cortex, which affects planning, impulse control, and decision making, doesn't finish developing until the mid-20s. And that's kind of explains it for me. I think like all of us do so many stupid things when we're young, teenage to mid-20s. And after that, it seems like we go, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. Because we just, we're so stupid. I guess we think we're going to live forever and we think nothing will happen to us and we don't even think about it. Yeah, Jay Bowman says, absolutely. He says, I couldn't imagine trying to raise that many children all at once. Yes, back in the day, that's how it was. The older kids helped out. Absolutely, Jay Bowman. And especially when I was raised, and we're talking in the 70s, 60s, 70s. So I'm giving my age away here. But also I remember watching some documentary about the LDS families, oh my gosh, am I drawing a blank? Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, that's how their families are. They, from what I understand, they have child after child, and the children help raise the other ones. But yeah. Hi, Peachtree Dishes. How are you today? Thank you for coming. Thank you for participating in our chat. You guys are great. Exactly, Love. And she says, most women in abusive situations don't have the financial, psychological, and social resources to leave, especially with multiple children. And that's the part that gets me. I mean, in the recent video that I did on Elizabeth, so many like wonderful conversations started, and people that really were so great that this was or so happy this part of it was being addressed. But then there were some comments that's like, nope, it doesn't matter. And it's like, I don't personally, I can't understand how And everybody's entitled to their own opinion, of course. But I don't understand how you can't at least think or see that she was a victim when she got together with him so young and started having babies. She didn't work outside the home. She probably never went anywhere without him, at least what I understand. I guess her family, her brothers, are saying that he wouldn't let her be around her family. So that is abusive right there, in my opinion. So Beth says, yeah, imagine having 20 fussy kids at one time, right? If you're talking about every year, see, for all those years, she would have to be, and all those hormones, so it would have to be pregnancy, childbirth, possible and almost definitely, I would say, breastfeeding, nursing. Her body would always be in that state. And then she turned around and get pregnant again. My heart goes out to anybody that has to go through that. Yeah. Love knows no words. She says, is directing this at Beth. Yeah, that turned out so well for the Duggar family. Duggar, I think it's pronounced. Oh yeah. That's, you know what? That's the documentary that I was seeing. It was all about the Duggar family or Duggar family, however you pronounce that. I never saw the show, the reality show. I never watched that. But that's what it was. They were all taking care of each other and, yeah. Yeah, absolutely, Beth. She says, I can't imagine what expert can tell where the physical issues and psychological issues intersected. Absolutely. And in the case, and I didn't even know that there were dedicated studies, it makes sense, about adolescent pregnancies, but I didn't even realize the body's competition for nutrients for the mother and for the growing baby. And who wins? I would think nature, actually, I don't know, but my thought would be the baby would win. And so that leaves the mother very, very at risk. And also, I have heard, you guys, not only did she lose the conjoined twins, but there were a loss of twins. Like, was it like 2 sets of twins in a row? Something like that. That's what we heard. That can also be caused by pregnancy so close together. That is a real issue with that. So yeah, absolutely. Just looking at I love your guys' conversations. Oh, love knows no words. Says it's suffocatingly hot here in Texas. I can't imagine. It's suffocatingly hot here in Ohio. And we don't have, usually August is our hottest month, but this is ridiculous how hot it's been. So. Yeah, thank you, Joy. Joy says, Ohio laws make no sense. Elizabeth was trapped by marriage, but legally not an adult to make decisions. Absolutely. And at that time, she had to go to West Virginia. A lot of young girls or couples went to West Virginia to get married because it's right close. And you could get married younger in West Virginia. That's why I can't think where somebody said that Ohio didn't have like a minimum for marriage. So maybe it wasn't on the books. But if that's true, why did they go to West Virginia all the time to get married? Oh, thank you, Debbie Fox. I really appreciate it. She says, I've been listening for 2 days. You're refreshing to listen to. Thank you. I feel a little bit differently now. It's sad to think she may never see any of her kids. She doesn't realize it. Absolutely. She may never be able to be with her kids again. And that's when, like, Cuomo had interviewed her attorney, and he hadn't spent much time with her. And he said something like, the attorney said the first thing she asked him when he saw her is, how are her children? Can she see her children and things like that? And I think Cuomo said something to the effect of, well, she was abusive to them or something. Don't quote me. It was something very dismissive. And I'm thinking, to me, that's a clue right there. If you don't have, this is my opinion, but if you don't have any way to make a living and you've had child after child after child and you're in coercive control, you're going to do the best you can. And she probably doesn't know any better. And somebody said she was in terrible condition, like, of course, hygienically and everything as well. So, yeah. Oh, good point. That's a good point, Julie, who says, no question, at 15, she was a victim. As an adult, there is still room for the possibility of perpetrator label. Yep, I agree. So there's always that possibility. So, yeah, Debbie Fox says her eyes tell a story. Yeah, she looks so sad. And on Moms for Justice, it showed all of them, giving their pleas, coming like from camera to the judge. And she, what is that? Carolyn, I think her name is, Moms for Justice, said, doesn't she look totally destroyed? And she did. She was just like not knowing what was going on at all. My heart goes out to her. Elizabeth, 1975. That's a good point. Maybe the first kid was removed from Elizabeth because she was only 13. That could be. And yeah. And Nikki said she has multiple sets of twins as well. And that, I wonder if twins run in the family, because I'm wondering if that could also be a result of having back-to-back pregnancies like she had. So, let's see. Yeah, good point. Oh, thank you, Beth of the Salesman, for the 10 jewels. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Hey, Wendy Williams enters the chat. Hey, girl. Wondered where you were. You missed when I didn't know that I had anybody showing up. And I kept looking. I'm going on with the presentation. I'm looking at the screen and I'm going, what is going on now? This has never happened like this before. And then I had hit the wrong button or something. So then I had to pull up the chat. So. Yeah, I agree, Jay Bowman, who says he's sure no one got the medical care they needed. Like, how could they? What I wonder about, too, see, we don't know anything, but apparently what I heard is Gary's mother, what is it, Christina? She's the only one that got benefits. So medical benefits. I don't know if that's what I heard was true. Supposedly Gary Jr. worked for DoorDash at a time, but we don't know what he did for a living. And you guys, we still don't know why the police came out there with a search warrant, because they have not told us yet. It wasn't because of the kids, and it wasn't because of the indecent exposure, from what I understand. So that makes me wonder if there was something else going on, whether it was with Gary, because, but let's face it, what was it, 3 counts or something of indecent exposure because you're peeing outside where everybody could see you. If that's all he did, we don't know everything. It's like, well, that's pretty messed up. It's pretty stupid what he did. So I have to wonder what else he might have been doing as well. So. Yeah, you're right. Wendy, was outside pulling grass and lost track of time. Oh my gosh, you're probably all sweaty from the pulling grass too, if you're like the rest of us. Although it did rain, it had a bit of a storm here about a half an hour before I went on air. So, but yeah. Oh, okay. Good to know. Love Knows No Words says fraternal twins run in families because a woman tends to release multiple eggs per month. But all conjoined twins are identical because it's caused by one egg splitting incompletely. Oh my goodness. Thank you for that. I never knew how that worked. Yeah, Wendy says, I heard that he only worked for DoorDash a couple of times, like it was just a couple of dashes. And so I wonder, but if he didn't get benefits, we don't know all what's going on. But it's like, how, I wonder, didn't they live with the seniors only for a year? So did they have no place to go and they all moved in and freeloaded on them? And on the Facebook that knows the family, like the Gary Jr.'s sister, she said that house was never like that, like a year ago. They were there a year ago. And the house, in her Facebook, she encloses pictures, of course, the children's faces blanked out and stuff. So what happened? You kind of have to wonder what happened in that. So. Oh, okay. Love Knows No Words. That explains it. She says she's an identical twin, so she's researched too much about twins. Yep. Oh, that's interesting. I've wondered that too, Nikki, who says, I wondered if there was drug use inside the home. That is possible. And what they found in the home. I mean, they'll either, from what I understand, they have to wait a long time to get either a grand jury, because it's only maybe once or twice a year that the grand jury sits, or they can have oh my gosh, I'm going blank, like the preliminary trial, preliminary hearing to get the charges and stuff. But I haven't heard which it's going to be now. So. Oh, okay, Wendy. Wendy says, I studied on this a little bit, and he has no history of doing something like that. Do you think maybe he had a mental episode of some kind, substance related or mental related? It could be. And all of them have competency hearings. So what would make them incompetent to stand trial? I just wonder, the entire family. Now, the elders, the father, the senior is really, really sick, has health issues, and they're elderly. So I don't know. But it's interesting to find out. Just going up here. I'm seeing your comment, Jay Bowman, at the top. I'm here at 3:55 p.m. As I'm sitting here thinking nobody's in the chat. I don't know what's going on. Is everybody ready behind? Oh. Just looking at the chat. Love knows no words. Don't tell Hidden Killers Pod that I canceled my membership over there. Dare we ask why you canceled your membership? Love knows no words. I'll just say love for short, because I keep wanting to say love knows no bounds. Now I'm getting used to saying love knows no words, but oh. Okay. Yeah, I know. Jay Bowman. He says, I was here yesterday thinking it was Sunday. You're so careful not to be to miss a live stream, Jay Bowman. I appreciate your loyalty and support. Oh my. Oh, okay. Joy says, it sounds like Elizabeth and Junior had their own house and lost it, then moved in with the parents. There is a guy remodeling house they left, and he said it was as bad as when they were found at. Just have to wonder what happened inside that family. Oh, good point. Love says, didn't want my husband to get mad at me for spending too much money on memberships. So then I doubly thank you for becoming a member to my channel. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And what your husband doesn't, no, I'm joking. I was going to joke. What your husband doesn't know won't hurt him. Except he probably would know what money you're spending. So, Jay Bowman, you can count on me. I know I can, Jay Bowman. I appreciate it. Oh, love knows no words. I love Samantha. I think it's Bening. I don't know whether that G is silent. I can't remember how she pronounces it, but for I Don't Belong Here. I love her channel. Oh, Joy, this is a great question. Me too. She says, I'm still trying to figure out what they moved to Wisconsin for, then returned to Ohio. Absolutely. And I don't think we know that it takes money. Well, if you have credit cards and things like that, but it does take money to move. So Love says, he sees the Apple bill. It figures, doesn't it? Yeah, absolutely, Wendy. She says, Samantha is awesome. She's on my list. Next rotation, and I'm joining. She's I think she's almost, isn't she's giving her thesis doctoral, defending her thesis, something like that for her PhD. She's amazing. Oh, okay. Thank you, Love. She says it's pronounced, I can't even talk today. It's pronounced like Beningo. Okay, great. Thank you. It's Beningo. I couldn't figure it out, and putting the G first, it didn't flow. So thank you. Beningo. So now I know. Thank you. So okay, so anything else you guys want to talk about before I reluctantly say goodbye? It's always so fun. being with you guys. And and I think I'm going to circle back around to something. I haven't decided what yet for the Shirilla family. I just haven't decided. I did try to go through the last 3 months of the texts between Mackenzie and Dom. And boy, that's a trip. I was actually having the computer read them to me because this is like just one after another, to see if I could see some kind of like a pattern building. Of course, they were always building into something terrible, I think, unfortunately. So I'm going to be doing some live soon on the Shirillas, maybe early next week. So. Oh, Wendy, great question. She asks, what do y'all think about people who think Elizabeth should have a second chance at her children? There's some folks who are rallying for Elizabeth to get her kids back. And then she says, and I think that's a terrible idea, LOL. But who's going to put up 16 kids and a mom? There's no way she's capable of doing that. That's true, unfortunately. Oh, great, love knows no words. Yes, her dissertation will be on statement analysis, I believe. Oh my gosh, she's really good at that. We've seen her do that time and again. She's awesome. Wendy goes, I don't have nearly enough characters to type my complete thoughts, LOL. Oh, she wanted to know, is that a code to your left? I keep looking at that. This is actually my TV. So I'm in my living room here. So my TV, I didn't just want my TV there. So it's a dark, like a throw blanket is what I put over there. So you're not seeing the reflection in my TV. Great question. Yeah. So I thought it's perfect color and everything. I just put it up over there. So. Oh my gosh. Great point, Wendy. Wendy says, I know a woman who has bipolar. Every home she's lived in, she had to leave because it got so funky and filthy in there. She would just have to up and leave with what she wanted out of her apartment. Oh my goodness. And then she goes, that makes me think the Sider family definitely struggles with something. Yeah. I'm sure there is mental illness somewhere along the way. And not that excuses everything. You know, you can struggle with mental health issues and still be legally accountable, culpable for your actions and everything. But it's like Gary Jr. when I saw Moms for Justice, when they were sitting there answering the judge their pleadings and everything, what they plead. And it was Gary Jr. that looked very, very cocky. And Moms for Justice, Carolyn brought that up. And I thought, yeah, he does. Of any of them, he looked really, really cocky. So I don't know if that's just him, but yeah. Yeah, I love, just said, did I hear there were suspicions of incest in the Siders case? Or am I confusing it with something else? I have heard, well, her brother, Elizabeth's brother, there's a rumor going on that the baby she got pregnant with at 13 was her brother's. But I don't know if there's any stock in that at all. He is really angry. And I would be too if people were accusing me. But he does have charges of something with his own child. Apparently, I can't remember his name offhand. So, thank you, Beth. Says it will be interesting as fuck. So, Beth, what angle do you want? Do you want me to look into the text messages or just take one of the, I actually wish one of them would give another interview. But there's plenty in the other interviews they've given that I can dissect and see what we can find out about that, you know. And Jay Bowman, yeah, I wondered that. And some people, I don't know if I should say this. He says, I was about to wonder who the first baby belongs to and if it was someone in her family. And I just kind of, my mind, and this is just speculation, I know nothing about any of this, but I automatically, my mind went to her father, but I don't know any of this. So this is just my opinion. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. And it could just be some boyfriend she was seeing, you know, but let me see. Yeah, I agree. Joy Harbaugh says people forget Elizabeth traumatized and emotionally stuck, probably at 14. And when you think that she was, and also, you know, they said that families said they never knew children lived there. Why? At multiple places? Is it because there were so many children? Maybe Elizabeth just wasn't capable of watching them and they were all so young. I mean, that is possible, you know. And love knows no words, absolutely. And what's that family in California? What is it? Was it something like 18 children? I can't think of the name of the first. It started with a T, the last name. They were all split up, and then those children ended up getting abused in these foster homes. So there's a problem with foster care as well. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. I have to show his love knows no words. I can't talk about the Shrilla case without fitting Caesar in there somewhere. I think it's become a compulsion. And that family, I mean, that's why I wish they would give another interview. Somebody would. I wish the youngest sister, Danny, would give an interview. That would be awesome. But I think she wants to stay out of it, and I would too. So, okay. Yeah, Beth says Mackenzie doesn't have POTS. She has Tourette's. Oh my goodness. Wow, yeah. Man. Well, anyway, let's see. My advice, don't look at Ohio for parenting advice. Shrilla, ciders, and senators and congressmen. When this is funny, because like I said, I live in Ohio, and when this first ciders case came out, my sister called me. She said, it would have to be in Ohio, wouldn't it? I said, what is going on? And we do. There was something like, I think Ohio has a lot of serial killers and things like that. Well, you remember the guy that, what was it, that held those girls in Cleveland for 10 years as his slaves and things like that? Ariel Castro or Casto, whatever, however you said that. Yeah, we've had a lot of those. There was another serial killer in Cleveland. And I think he's in prison now. I can't remember his name. So yeah. Okay, so Beth says it's always Florida or Ohio, right? Oh my gosh. Yeah. That one that killed his mother, father. Why can't I think of tip of my tongue? But he killed his mom, dad, and his brother over a cam model. I can't think of the name offhand. That was Florida. It's like, oh my goodness. So let's see. Okay. So on that note, we've been a little bit over an hour. Does anyone have anything else you want to say or any questions or anything before I let you guys go? Reluctantly let you guys go to enjoy the rest of your hot Sundays or Sunday. So I'm just looking at the chat here. I love you all too. Thanks, Jay Bowman. And I'm looking forward to our next chat together, next conversation. Oh, Beth of a Salesman. Yeah, that's another one. Chandler Halderson. That's another case to look into. That's not who I was speaking with, but that's another one where he killed his family or killed his mom. Yeah, his mom and dad. And he had this whole lie going that he was going to graduate from college and all this kind of stuff, and he was flunking, and it was just bizarre. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Joy says, my thought was Kinsey once released, move her into a house arrested cider home with stipulation she has to clean it. Oh my gosh. Hey, hi. What is that? D Remink? I can't even read this screen. D Remink. Hi, how are you? She said I rewinded the video to about 4 minutes to start from there. Great. Welcome. Yeah. Oh, boy. That really makes me want to really look into the one that Beth said. Oh, a Chandler Hollers, and see if what I can find out about that. Andrea Shaw case. Yep. Oh my gosh. Beth, you're killing me. You sound just like Mackenzie with the way you say that. Fuck. Right? Love knows no words. That would probably be better punishment for Mackenzie. You know, she ain't going to do any of that. Clean a house. She's busy doing all kinds of different things in prison when she's supposed to be like straightening up, but you know how that goes. Okay, so on that, I will let you guys go. Thank you so much. It was just a pleasure, and we'll be getting together again soon. I'll let you know when the next live is. See you guys soon. Bye.